Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhaktivinoda.
Continuing our reading of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya-lila, chapter 20, entitled The Lord Instructs. Sanatan Goswami. From memory, it's around 36. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
36, yeah. So just recapping, so that landholder very piously helped Sanatan to get free from that area, sent some of his servants to help him without even wanting any money. But still, Sanatan gave him those gold coins because remember, he didn't want to risk that if I keep the gold, someone else is going to try to rob me in future. So better we just give it up and then there's nothing to worry about. And we talked about that, there's some benefit in having less possessions, less anxieties, because the more you have, the more anxiety we have. I have to protect all my assets and my wealth and everything. There's always some anxiety there. Someone might steal it from me. I have to guard it and protect it. But if you don't have anything to lose, well, also you've got no anxieties. So that's the way, the Brahmana thinks like that, or just purposefully keeps himself in like a almost poverty kind of stricken condition. And that's, it's a very peaceful way to exist. Hmm. Okay, so let's read this one, 36. Tare Vidaya Diya Gosanai Chalila Ekala Hate Karunya Chinda Kanta Nirbhaya Haila.
Tare Vidya Diye Gosani Chalila Ekala Hate Karunya Chinda Kanta Nirbhay Haila. After departing from Ishana, Sanatan Goswami began traveling alone with a water pot in his hand, simply covered with a torn quilt. He thus lost all his anxiety.
Mm. So, in the previous verse, it was revealed that his servant Ishan still had one gold coin. So even though he asked him previously to hand over everything, he didn't tell the complete truth. He still had kept back one coin. And so now he's at the point where he said, "You can just go home." And he left him with that one gold coin, which obviously that gold coin would help his servant to fulfill his requirements and like that, because that would have been very valuable that 500 years ago, one gold coin. So he has something to keep himself going for a while, sort himself out, and then he's just going to travel by himself. So, and he has almost nothing. So he's saying he's just got a water pot in his hand. Of course, this is the most essential thing that we really need. And after we spent 7 years in Australia all up, and the last 4 were droughts, and there was hardly any water. And I really appreciate after experiencing those droughts where we didn't have water, just how important essential water is. I mean, not only do we need to drink water. I mean, they say the body is made up nearly, of so much water. But apart from I mean, it's said, isn't it? You can survive without food for, I think, a week or something, 10 days maybe, but you can only survive without water for like a day or two. The water is like so essential, even more than food. And but apart from needing to drink it, we use it for cooking, we use it for cleaning, for washing clothes, for feeding for the animals. If you have pets and things like that, they need like that, like we had 70 cows on the farm, so we have to always make sure they have water like that. And like cows drink a lot of water. I think they drink at least 10 liters a day of water. We had to buy water in tankers during that drought. It was crazy. And, water is so essential. And so that's basically, if they had a water pot, they can obviously in India, so many rivers, so many streams and rivers and that. So generally the sadhus wandering around would walk along the river because, like I said, you need water. So you don't want to go away too far from the river. Otherwise, you're not going to get water. So they would generally travel along the bank of the rivers. And it'd be very pleasant there. And, nice breezes and everything. And often also what you find is that you'll get a lot of trees grow alongside the river because that's where the water is, right? So you'll get beautiful forests, like in Brindavan, right? Actually, in that Mathura area, there's 12 forests. So one of the 12 forests is Brindavan, but there's Mahavan, Kandiravan, so many vans, 12. And that's all because the Yamuna flows through there. The Yamuna flows through there. And so you got beautiful forests there. But if you went away from the river, probably you get deserts and dried up and not so much water, so they would generally stick to the rivers, and very pleasant and everything, nice too. And because you got the trees growing there, then you'll get fruits. So if you got water and the fruits and nuts and that, like you'll have the guava growing there and the banana and the mango and your jackfruit and whatever you want, that'll also be growing in those trees along the river. And then you can get, so you got water, you got food. What else do you need? Some simple clothing, like he's got said here, some torn quilt. So just wear some simple clothing, which often the sadhus would just pick up, clothes that rich people or whatever, it's a bit worn out, so they just leave it lying there, and the sadhu will come and just make use of that. So he doesn't have to buy any cloth, but he'll just pick up like secondhand clothing. I mean, even we ourselves, I quite often find really good things in like secondhand shops. So here we have shops called the Salvation Army and things like that. And you can often find like, you think, why did they throw this away? It's like such a good, clothing or whatever. And sometimes very flash kind of styles and that. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I had this might sound like a silly question,
Mm.
but they didn't have anything, right? Besides, so if there's a big fruit, how will they cut it? Or a nut, how will say for even for like macadamia, you need a big nut cracker like that. How would they?
Yeah, you can hit it with a stone, like a nut. You can hit it with a stone, and fruits. Even the fruit, if it has a thick skin or whatever, you can also just break it on the ground, and then take the inside, the flesh out of it like that. So there's always ways of doing it, like a coconut, right? A coconut, all I do, I get the coconut and I just hit it very hard on the ground, like on a concrete. Hit it hard on the concrete, and it will normally split in two very easily. And then I can get to the inside, the flesh and everything. So like that, you can whack it on the ground, hit something with a stone. There's all kind of ways, even if you don't have a knife or whatever, then you can still get everything. And fruits are so good thing because they're automatically there. You don't see a lot of things like grains and everything. You have to cultivate the land to get the thing and like that. And a lot of vegetables too. You're growing your potatoes or whatever you have to cultivate. But fruit is just there, hanging in the tree. You just pick it. And it's just the sadhus would mainly eat fruits and nuts and berries and roots, some leaves, some herbal leaves, and like I researched in that, or Jayanti researched, the guava leaf. It's very medicinal. You can even just chew on the guava leaf. Toothache was removed by that. So many things. Even the lemon, the leaf of the lemon, the nimbu, you can boil that, drink that water is very good for health. So even these leaves and that, so we know Tulsi, of course, Tulsi leaf is very good. You offer to Krishna and then you can take the Tulsi leaf and the flowers and that, very medicinal and everything. So all these herbs just have some herbs, some fruits and nuts and that. And sometimes, of course, the sadhus would approach the farmers and can I have some milk? So they might put in their water pot, they might also fill up some milk in there. So water, and sometimes you can put some milk and they drink milk. And that's enough, you know. And milk especially is a whole food. You could just live off milk, you know. So like that, you can live very simply and no need for a job, no need for an income, like that. Just you could live very simply. The climate, if it's warm, you don't need a fancy house to keep you warm. You can just these sadhus stay under a tree. It's a nice warm climate. One time Prabhupada said that India is the best place for spiritual life, but what I found fascinating was his answer. It wasn't that it's the best place because of all the temples and the Shastra and the sadhus and avatars coming there. He said because it's warm. So if you're living in a warm place, it makes it easier to live a simple life. And if you can live a simple life, that means more time for Krishna consciousness. And that's the big advantage of simple life, that there's more time for Krishna consciousness. If it wasn't for the Krishna consciousness, then just a simple life is pretty useless because, you know, animals live a simple life. There's nothing glorious about them. Monkeys live simply, you know, pigs live simply, dogs live simply, but they don't have any higher consciousness. So that's a complete waste of time. We're not praising the animal's simple life, but a simple life for a human being means it gives you an opportunity to have more time for your spiritual development, and that's really good. But without that, it's also useless. Like I got neighbors, they live a simple life. Some live in a caravan, live real simple, but they just smoke marijuana, drink alcohol, you know, eat out of a can, some processed tin food, completely wasting their life. So that simple life is that's just tamagun. That's just mode of ignorance. That's hopeless. But like we've taken that opportunity that if we live more simply, that we can put more time into our Krishna consciousness, and then it's very good like that. So combining that simple living, high thinking together, and that's the main thing we want to do here at this place is do workshops and retreats and teach people how to combine those two things together, simple living and high thinking. Because there are organizations that promote simple living, but they don't promote the high thinking. And there are organizations that promote the high thinking, you know, yoga society, meditation society, this philosophical society, everything, theological society, but you know, religious society, but they don't promote the simple living. So they've got like half of the equation. But what Prabhupada said is you combine the two, simple living, high thinking, then it's perfect. So that's what we want to do here. But do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I think what I figured out is that less you have, the less anxiety you have. That's simple, I think.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
And why do you think here particularly is mentioning he lost all his anxiety? So what any ideas what you're thinking was causing him anxiety before? What's the difference between just before this point and this point? I mean, this point he's by himself. So before this point, he wasn't
Well,
by himself.
because of the money, I mean, that was causing the whole problem. So people are greedy and they would have killed him or do something. You know, people go after people who have money. There's a possibility there,
Yeah.
or something people can take away from you. You know, so now he doesn't have much. A torn quilt, nobody wants to get that.
Mm.
A simple bowl, beggar's bowl. So it's like
Yeah.
he's like kind of beggar. You know, nobody's going to come in. And that reminds me of Jada Bharat. He was like
Yeah.
just going, you know, and he didn't want it to get noticed, so he was like a beggar or something, you know, totally.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
nobody bothers. So he goes by his business. He doing his
Yeah.
consciousness, Krishna
Mm.
consciousness. doing his stuff, and then nobody bothers.
mm,
So that less bothering from the people
mm,
outside your circle.
mm,
So you're not attracting people towards you, and
mm,
that's one of the
mm,
things that then you can
mm,
do God consciousness, or you can
mm.
spiritual journey more peacefully.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but in terms of, if you want to, maybe at a stage when you have actually gone and you become totally spiritual, but before that, this world is kind of a sandbox where you go and in basically practice your spirituality, how spiritual you are. You can benchmark yourself, how you react with the people and people around you. How do you do that? So that's also important if you are actually still graduating. I mean, it's you haven't graduated, maybe,
mm,
and because he's already, Sanatan Goswami is already Goswami, he's already very high, so he understood everything. But people who are going towards it would probably shouldn't be actually going away from the society, rather than going into the society and see where we are spiritually. What do you think about that kind of a? Yeah, that just came to my
yeah. We
mind. That
can't definitely. I mean, we can't imitate him, and I mean, there needs to be grihastas too that do interact with the world and everything like that. That's also part of Vedic culture. He's like a sannyasi,
mm,
so that sannyasi is part of Varnashram Dharma, but also you need grihastas.
mm,
And like I said, they would often, the sadhus would approach the grihasta, who is maybe a Vaishya, to get the milk and so forth. But if there's no one actually producing something like milk and so forth, then it's difficult for them too. So they're equally important society. You need grihastas. And like I mentioned, the grihastas took the responsibility to maintain all the other ashramas.
mm,
They would maintain the brahmacharis because the brahmacharis had no money. So they're also maintained by the grihastas. They would go door to door, traditionally, the brahmacharis, and collect some alms. They would get some food from the grihastas. And also the grihastas are maintaining the vanaprasthas, those that are retired, and they're maintaining the sannyasis. So yeah, we can't leave out the grihastas from society, and you can't expect everyone is going to be a sannyasi. So at the final point of life, of course, it's recommended the final point of life, then we should detach from material things and have more of a focus on the spiritual life to prepare for death. Because you don't want to be just thinking about money and your household stuff when you're dying. That's obviously not auspicious because then you're going to take birth again. If your mind is materially absorbed, that's going to create your next birth. So before death, we should try to detach and focus our mind on Krishna. So that's why the Vedic culture is leading us towards that point of renunciation, which we call sannyas, like that, to renounce all the things so that we can get liberated after this life. But yeah, so we don't, and this is very nice what he's doing, but at the same time we don't criticize those that are involved with worldly things. But however, we have to, the grihastas are making money and so forth and have material possessions a lot more than him. But we should try to, dovetail or utilize those things that we have as grihastas in Krishna's service. And that's really what grihasta means. It means Krishna's in the center. Whereas there's another term for a family person, which where Krishna's not in the center, and that's called grihamedi. Are you familiar with that term, grihamedi?
yep, I think so. I've heard it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's.
So grihamedi means, same, person living in a house with wife and kids, but their own sense gratification is the center. The griha, the house, is in the center. So whereas a grihasta is also a guy living with wife and kids in a house and everything, but the difference is Krishna's in the center. It's not that I'm in the center or the wife is in the center or the kids are in the center, but Krishna's in the center of everyone, and that's grihasta. Whereas, the other person, it's just Krishna's nowhere in sight. It's just his own sense gratification. So his wife is providing nice food, and he's satisfying his tongue and his belly, and also wife is giving good sex life, and he's satisfying the genitals. So it's all about sense gratification, accumulating money, and you're using that money for sense gratification, like that. So that's Griha Medi. And that's not progressive. That's leading one towards next life will be less than human life. But Grihasta is progressive because you're using whatever you have in Krishna service. Like I said, you're helping the preachers, the brahmacharis and the sannyasis, and that you're rendering some service with your wealth, distribute prasadam, distribute books, whatever you can, like that. Giving charity, providing funds for the spread of Krishna consciousness, like that, printing books and so forth. Actually, when Prabhupada, in his early life, when he was a Grihasta, he used a lot of his income for printing Back to Godhead magazines. He printed the Bhagavatam first canto in India. And he also supported the Gaudiya Math, which was his guru's organization. He helped the Gaudiya Math to make one mat he was in Allahabad. I think he was in Allahabad. So he helped them financially to set up one preaching center in Allahabad, like that. And then later on, he used his funds to set up a center in Jhansi. So Jhansi, he set up, before ISKCON in India, he set up one organization himself called the League of Devotees. That was the name of the organization Prabhupada set up in India before he went to the West. It was called the League of Devotees, and he made one center in Jhansi, like that. So he used his income, trying to spread Krishna consciousness, and obviously maintained the wife, and he had, I think, 4 or 5 kids. So maintain that, but anything extra, he used it like that, and the Lord's service like that. So that's very ideal, very exemplary, like that. And because actually accumulating wealth can be very contaminating, because the money itself, for one thing, is contaminated, because we don't know where that money has been through before it came to us. It could have gone through McDonald's, it could have gone through the casino, could have gone through the liquor shop, it could have gone through so many places. So it's full of bad karma, where that money has come from. And then also the way that we get that wealth sometimes might not be in a very good way. Even like Jayanti's job, it was a government job, but the job itself was not a very good job in terms of it was regulating the gambling in New Zealand, regulating gambling. So gambling is sinful activity. So even though she wasn't gambling, but still the job was involved with that. I mean, even like I know a lot of Indian dairy owners, right? So they might not eat meat, they might not drink, but they're selling it. And they make money from that, right? So actually that money has got a lot of bad karma, because that money came from selling a meat pie or the cigarettes or whatever like that. And then, like I said, they're not doing it themselves, but that money, if they want to get free from the bad karma, they have to engage that in Krishna's service. If they don't engage that money in Krishna's service, but use it for their sense gratification, definitely it will implicate them in some bad karma and things like that. So like that's very hard to earn money in a way that's not connected with some, bad karma and different things like that. So even myself here, I mean, I'm not really earning much money, but I have to kill some animals, to protect my food supply. And that's, you could say bad karma. But what I do, I make sure that the result of my work, which is the fruits and the vegetables and the nuts and stuff. See, most people's result of their work is money. The result of my work is not money, it's fruits and nuts and vegetables and stuff. And I offer that to Krishna. So all that produce, I make sure that gets offered to the deities in our house. And and the idea of that is then any karma involved in producing that food, like killing pests and stuff. So any of that karma is just removed like that. So that's the idea there. But yeah, you can't have only sannyasis, so definitely grihastas in that. But it should be proper grihasta, that's the point. So everyone's life, student life, brahmachari, centered around Krishna. He's learning through the scriptures about Krishna. Grihasta's life, making money, but using that money in Krishna's service. And the vanaprastha also doing more austerities, focusing his mind on Krishna. And then the sannyasi also, traveling around talking about Krishna. So if everyone's life is centered around Krishna, then everyone's progressing.
Just going to say about that verse.
Yeah.
You were asked a question, what's different about Sanatana Goswami now?
Yeah, like now it's mentioned he's free from anxiety, and before that you could assume it meant that, well, he had anxiety before. So my question was, well, now he's free from anxiety before he had anxiety. So what's changed? It means what was causing him anxiety before that's not there now?
The possibility that he can't meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And now he feels.
Are you hearing what she's saying?
That was his main.
Speak louder.
I said his main anxiety was that
Hare Krishna.
His main anxiety is, his main anxiety earlier was that he may not get to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And now he is feeling relieved because he's going further on his way to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is what I am suggesting.
Okay.
I feel his anxiety is coming because he's more transcendental.
But he was on the way to see Lord Chaitanya before, and he's on the way to see Lord Chaitanya now. So I really don't see there's any big change.
He was
in
before,
that.
but then he also came to know that these people are trying to put a hurdle in his travel, right? And that would cause him anxiety.
So, and we've discussed, that the cause of that anxiety was that they had the money there.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing is, who had been carrying that money?
Isha.
His servant, yeah.
His servant. So I would say that the big change is that he had anxiety before and no anxiety now is because he doesn't have his servant with him. And I just, that made me think that there was one ISKCON Maharaj, really great soul, Mahavishnu Goswami. He said, and I always remember him saying it, he said, I feel most peaceful when I'm alone. And I always found that very interesting. I was thinking about that. I always feel most peaceful when I'm alone. So maybe we can all, have some thoughts on that subject. And also then I can reflect on that, because so Sanatana Goswami was the master and Ishan was the servant. So it means, you have a responsibility, obviously, to look after your servant, just like you have responsibility to look after your children, to look after your wife, like that. Before, when I was in Australia, I had responsibility to look after the farm community. We had, when we left, I think up to 20 people there. And then also the Bhakti Tree had a staff of whatever, 5 or so, like that. So, 20, 25 people in 2 different places. And if I think back, there was some anxieties there, that, have to make sure everyone's happy. Is everyone happy? Is everyone safe? Is everyone on the right track? Is anyone going off track? You have to bring them back on track. And And one thing I know definitely causes anxiety when you're responsible for somebody is when they don't do what you say. Does that make sense? And we had that example here that Ishan didn't do what Sanatana Goswami said. Even when he said hand over the coins, he still kept one. So it means he was a little bit rebellious. And definitely in Kali Yuga, you're going to have that. That the people, even you're an authority over some people, but because we're Kali Yuga-ites, we're quite rebellious. It's very hard to find someone that's going to 100% just do what you're told and, follow instructions. And that lack of obedience and can cause anxiety like that. And also, if someone that's under your care suffers in some way, then you take that on, right? Like I know that, there's devotees that were under our care in Australia, and sometimes they go through some difficulties, health issues or whatever, different things, financial issues or whatever. And we feel bad, we don't feel, it creates anxiety like that. But like now, this servant is gone now out of the picture and he's all by himself. So that all that anxiety is gone. He's worried about Ishana or that he's not doing what I've told him to do, and it's like just a disturbance and like that. So that's my thoughts on the matter. And there can actually be great peace, just being by yourself. But that's only going to be, peaceful by ourselves if we learn how to control our own mind. Because even if you're by yourself and you haven't learned how to control your mind, the mind will disturb you like that. And I tell you, one of the biggest causes of anxiety in modern society is loneliness. It's a massive problem. And it's not loneliness that people are all by themselves in a forest or something. It's loneliness in the city. So they're lonely in Sydney. They're lonely in Melbourne and Auckland and London and New York, surrounded by millions of people, but they have a feeling of being lonely. Whereas a devotee like Sanatana Goswami can be with nobody around him in the forest or whatever, just some wild animals or whatever, but he doesn't feel lonely. And his mind is focused on his loving relationship with Krishna. And he always feels that even if I'm in the forest, Krishna is with me. And so it's very, very interesting. But yeah, it's not automatic. I just clarifying what I said about being peaceful by yourself, but that's only going to work if we have some higher consciousness, if we learn how to control our mind, because there are a lot of people that don't feel peaceful by themselves. A lot of people feel terribly stressed and anxiety when they're by themselves. And maybe they don't have a partner. And there's a lot of people in modern society that they're in great anxiety when they don't have a partner. And there's many like that. That's one of the problems in Kali Yuga that wasn't so much there before, that a man has a hard time to find a suitable woman and a woman has a hard time to find a suitable man. And that's a great cause of anxiety in modern society. But here we have it. There's this man all by himself and he's feeling so free from anxiety because he has all of his needs are fulfilled by his loving relationship with God. And that reminds me also when we were in Newcastle, where Gulshan was staying after we left, that the next door neighbor was a Christian, elderly Christian lady. Her husband died, and to fill that gap, she got a dog. And then the dog died, and she was so depressed, so much anxiety. And she said, I don't want to get another dog because I'm going to get attached to that dog. And then that one's going to die too. And then So she didn't want to go through that again, that you get attached to something and then you lose it and then it breaks your heart. So what I told her is, look, you're a Christian. Why don't you direct your desire for love and relationship and attachment to God, and that will never be cut off, that will never be broken. Like that, I was encouraging her in that way, but she couldn't get it. She couldn't understand what I was saying, and she was just was suffering so much pain from her material attachments being cut off, but couldn't learn how to shift that material attachment to a spiritual attachment like that. But yeah, so not everyone is going to be free from anxiety alone. But here we see a devotee all alone. He's feeling so happy like that. You want to say anything about that, or Jayanti?
Yeah, that's like you're giving an example of, she was not able to understand your thinking that, or the spiritual way of living. But if you look at from the other perspective, she is being detached from, now she doesn't want anything, not even dog. That's the way God is teaching her, detachment. I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's the way. But she didn't understand what you said directly. I mean, that's your experience probably, but she didn't understand the kind of God system is working. I mean, it's, even if we have good, we just looking for the welfare of other people and directing them right, but they may not be at the right point of time to absorb it, as you said in the her example. But God's system is there. She had two problems and then she detached. Say, I'm not going to attach, but I don't know how that's going to be right. Or I was reading the 7 of Canto 7, the first chapter, and it starts with that God is partial and somebody. I mean, I think there was a question whether God appears to be partial. In terms of looking at that, it says that you are driven by the modes of material nature. We think that God is partial because we are in the material mode of nature, but he is not. So he is doing things. We now say that he's doing right or wrong, whatever it is doing, but it is right for that person, isn't it? I mean, in terms of, it's like, because he knows, because he's not material and we are material, we actually say that he's partial, that he's favorable to demigods or devotees, but he's not partial to some people who are not devotee. But that chapter says that everyone is, he's impartial, but it's the way we look at it. We think that God is partial, but he's not. It's because we interpret it in a different way. Something going through a hard time, as you said, the lady went into hard time twice, and then she detached herself, say, I don't want to attach with anything. So God's way of detaching her was a bit different, and that's how it goes. I could have said that, she is, why she's doing that. She can find a partner, she can find another dog, as you said, or find somebody else to, but she didn't. But I think it's God's way of teaching people individually. It's everyone's solution is different. And then when we look at from perspective, we are looking from from our perspective. We are looking, as I said, maybe I'm spiritual, I'm looking at spiritual, that if she goes to spirituality, that but she's not ready. So whatever is the right of time, probably God is already providing it. So in terms of, I mean, it's good somebody can guide you. And as you said, if you said something and she caught it and she followed it, she might have gone to the right direction. But I guess God is doing what is right for everyone. It's individual customization. That's like, it's like what this person need. He knows everything, what you need and what I need. So it's saying that, So I mean, it's kind of, you cannot say that, you cannot say that you have to do things in that way. If she didn't pick it up, that means that was not her
free
way.
choice. Definitely free choice is there. But I was feeling sorry for her because and this is what happens when a materialistic person loses something that they're attached to, what will invariably happen? They'll experience what emotion? What
They will be
emotion do we normally experience when we had something very nice and we lost it? What do we call that emotion, that feeling?
depressed, yeah, depressed and happy, yeah.
Yeah, and lamentation.
Lamentation, yeah.
Lamentation. So in the Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter text, I think it's 54, says Brahma Bhuta Prashanatma na Shokshati na Kankshati. So on the spiritual, when you have the spiritual realization, Brahma Bhuta, you realize the Aham Brahmasmi, I'm a spirit soul, I'm, part and parcel of Krishna. Then your Prashanatma means happy. You're always happy. Like here, Sanatana Goswami is happy. But on the material consciousness, it's, Shokshati and Kankshati. Lamentation on one side, that I had this money or this relationship and now I've lost it. And then on the other side, Kankshati means something you don't have, you want it. If only I had $1 million, I'll be happy. If only I had this beautiful woman, I'll be happy. If only I had this house, I'll be happy. So it's either the thing that you lost and you lament about it, or the thing that you don't have and you want it. So it means no one is happy in that material consciousness. No one's happy. They're always looking back in the past, what they lost, and crying and lamenting, or looking into the future, that if I could get this, if I can have this, and blah, blah, blah. Whereas on the spiritual platform, you're just always happy from your, connection with the Supreme, which is always there. So yeah, she had gone in that direction of lamentation. And I mean, I wouldn't exactly say that was God's plan for her. But God is giving the free choice, whether in any situation in life, are you going to turn to Him, or are you going to just turn to your own mind and senses like that? So I wouldn't say that was, I mean, yeah, God definitely arranged that the husband was taken away, that the dog was taken away. But even then, I wouldn't say God has arranged. But I would say that God's energies had arranged, in the form of Maya, Durga, like that. Because Krishna, like you said, in that 7th canto, that some people criticize that God's partial. It seems like he spends more time, trying to help the devotees and the demigods, and he just ignores the, non-devotees and demons and things. And it seems like he's being partial. But actually, it's not partial, like what you're saying it said there. Because the devotees and the demigods turn towards him and ask for his help and depending on him, calling out to him, he reciprocates with that. However, the non-devotees and the demons, they never think of him. They never call out to him. And so he reciprocates with that. The non-devotees and demons never think about the Lord, so the Lord doesn't think about them. So what I'm saying is that's he reciprocates equally. That's his equality. If you turn to him 100%, well, he's 100% for you. And if you, forget him 100%, well, he'll, forget you 100%.
I
In
would
fact,
say
the saying is if you take one step towards God, He'll take 10 steps towards you or something, no?
Yeah, there's a saying, if you take one step to God, He takes 10 steps to you. So he's just waiting for a little reciprocation, and then he'll reciprocate. And that's fear that he does that, because if we don't want God in our life, He's not going to force. That would be wrong. That would be wrong, as if he forces himself into your life if you don't want him. You know what I'm saying? Then he's not allowing our free choice. He's not giving us that free choice.
But when you say that, say somebody devotee or somebody they are following, so he's reciprocating in that scenario, and then he's not reciprocating to the person who's not doing anything, who's not asking.
No, that is the reciprocation. That is the
But
reciprocation.
according to
You that we forget him, so he forgets us. That's the same. Both sides same. You
I
see?
think he doesn't probably forget. That's what I think is. I may be wrong, but I think he is like, we are at different stages. So when we are talking about
Yeah.
devotee, somebody who's spiritually already high, it's like,
Hmm.
and somebody who's not spiritually there. So it depends on, you won't treat the same person with the same treatment because he already has the knowledge. But the person who is down here, he doesn't have the
Hmm.
knowledge. He's he's not at that stage where he can understand this part where you need to be spiritual or reciprocate in a certain way.
Hmm.
He has not said, but for them as well, he is actually have a system where he's actually, they are being forced into a corner, and then when then happens that you're in the corner, then you ask question, why it's happening to me? And that's the point where it turning point. So
Yeah.
it depends on person to person what stage you are in. So
Hmm.
in terms of God or Krishna, he's looking at what does this person needs, as you said, reciprocation or whatever it is, that what stage is at. He won't understand if I tell him all the spiritual stuff.
Hmm.
He will learn when he experiences it, and then when he experiences it, then he might turn. So why is happening, why is not happening to that person, and why is not happening to me? What is the answer, what is the question? When he start
Yeah.
doing that, so, I mean, what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say is that he is impartial. It depends on how you are, what your understanding is, what's his understanding, or what at what level is there. Accordingly, as you said, he will reciprocate accordingly. So that particular lady probably was not that spiritual at that point of time, but
Hmm.
still God helping her in terms of all these things happening, and then she's, I mean, suffering is not bad, as I think that's
You
what
know, I would,
it.
yeah, but see, Krishna's not getting directly involved until the point that you turn towards him. So
Yeah.
but what Krishna has done, I mean, 100% that he loves all the souls and that he feels unhappy that we're like rotting in this material world. But he's not going to get directly involved in our lives until we consciously want to come back to him. But what he's doing is that he's set up the material in such a way, like you've indicated, that through suffering and everything, people dying around us and everything, that gradually we become frustrated and disgusted with material life and then turn towards him. And then when you turn towards him, then okay, Krishna's right involved right there. But he doesn't get involved, unless and until we come to this point where okay, I surrender, please,
But then
like that. I want to come back to you. But that indirectly he is. Indirectly means he's arranged this material energy to dish out some suffering and everything that's going to break down our desire to be the enjoyer and the controller and everything like that.
yeah, but I think still, I mean, he's involved in everything. It's not just when you're a devotee or a spiritual person. He's involved more
No,
or
but
something.
actually the scripture doesn't say that. The scripture doesn't say that. I mean, like I said, indirectly he is, but that's through his energies. But Krishna, what is Krishna doing? He's playing his flute, he's enjoying with the devotees. Krishna's not involved in good karma, bad karma. Okay, you've got Joe Blogs, you've got this much good karma, that much bad karma. I'm going to give you some enjoyment because of your good karma. I'm going to give you some suffering because of your bad karma. Actually, Krishna doesn't have anything to do with that. He's just enjoying with his bhaktas, the devotees. It's all the devas, all the demigods and everything, and Durga, Maya, everything that's dealing with you've got good karma, you've got bad karma. Okay, you have to go up, you have to go down, you have to come back as a human. That's not Krishna dealing with that. That's all his, authorities that he's created, within the material world.
Yeah, but I think he is not dealing with the system created by him.
Yes,
It's the
100%.
system created.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that in terms of it can't be that he's dealing, he's coming into more picture for a spiritual person and less for the other person. The system is same. I mean, how can it be, somebody who's in ignorance will get less help than the person who's spiritually already here? So that means if he's doing that, he's not directly handling him. If he's not treating him equally, that means people who need more help are not being helped in the sense. So I mean, what do you think of that? I mean, they need more help rather than people who are spiritually up. So it's like,
No, but they need more help, but they don't want it. They don't want it. This is the problem. They don't want it. I mean, even like your children, right? If you might want to give them something healthy or whatever like that, or some medicine, but if they don't want it, then what can you do?
but
They just want to eat the, packet of potato chips. They don't want to have some home cooked salad or whatever like that. They want to eat potato chips. So what can you do? You can't force. So you can give some good advice. And Krishna has given Bhagavad Gita is available for everyone. But if you don't want to read it, then what is he going to do? What is he going to do? So the guru is coming for everyone, but you don't want to listen to the guru, then what can you do? So it's not that Krishna doesn't want to help everyone. He wants to help everyone. But if you don't want his help, then well, you can't blame Krishna for that. Then he's not going to go and shove it down your throat. Then he's just waiting patiently until you make the first step. But then that person has to make the first step. And then Krishna will give everything for that person.
yeah, but the thing is that it's not easy for people to actually go from that perspective, from to understand all that Krishna is there and everything is there. Okay, those people are there.
Yeah.
But still, so there is a different of treatment to person you're saying, or is helping everyone else. He's impartial, right? So I mean, in terms of, if you're following him, you're getting more his attention, and people who are not getting his less attention. So that means it's partial, isn't it?
No, because see, it is equal treatment, but it's equal treatment according to us. How we're dealing with him. You dealing with him 1%, he'll deal with you 1%. You deal with him 50%, he'll deal with you 50. You deal with him 100%, he'll deal with. So that's the equal. You see, it's equal to our, response.
So a person like small children live in a family who are not basically very religious or spiritual. Now the thing is that the point is that the child have no chance of getting spiritual, because you're surrounded by your family and all those. Now in that scenario, how does, I mean, how
No,
does
I mean, it's completely personal because like my family have no interest whatsoever in anything spiritual. It's only myself, but that didn't stop me from finding this path. I didn't get any support or help or encouragement from my family to take to Christian consciousness. In fact, they tried to keep me away from it. But but that wasn't an obstacle. So it's completely depends on that person's minute free choice. If we want to, you know, if we want to question who am I, who is God, why am I suffering, and then immediately Krishna will be there to help. But if you want to think that I'm God, everyone's God, or I don't need God or whatever, then he's not there. I mean, he is there, but he's not going to interfere. He's not going to interfere. However, but like I said, indirectly through the system he created, that will bring us around through suffering to become humble. And then when we become humble, then we'll question and then we can come out. So yeah, indirectly he set up a system to bring up those that are on the path of forgetting him. And then directly, if you call out to him, then he's right there.
Yeah, I think that's probably, I mean, it's because it's very difficult for people, to get into that kind of, because most of the people don't
I mean,
know this.
I'll give you an example. The scriptures say the
Mm.
sun is radiating its light for everyone, right? However, there are some creatures that cannot take any benefit from the sun. Like, for example, an owl. An owl does never comes in the sun, or like there's some other nocturnal creatures, right? They hide from the sun and they only come out in the darkness. So can you criticize the sun? Why are you not giving your light to the owl and the bear and everything like that? If the bear is hiding in a cave for 6 months, you can't blame the sun for not coming into the cave,
I think,
like that. So that
yeah,
that same example, like Krishna's there for everyone. There's no question. He loves everyone equally. But are you hiding from Krishna? You turn away from Krishna. You can't blame Krishna. Why is he not helping you? He wants to, but the thing is, you don't want it. You're hiding from
it,
his
it's possible
mercy
that,
rate.
yeah, it's possible that I don't even know about Krishna. So how do, where am I
But
standing on
that's
that?
not by chance. No, no, we don't accept that. That's not by chance because you don't know about Krishna because that the soul has been determined to avoid Krishna. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this situation of ignorance unless of our past karma that we've been turning away from Krishna. And then we're put in that situation where you're born in a family that doesn't give you any spiritual knowledge. You're born in a country that doesn't give you any spiritual knowledge. You're born in a society that doesn't give you any spiritual knowledge. Like that's all the reactions. These are all reactions to you know being averse to Krishna or being envious of Krishna, like that. So it's very subtle, and even you can pick it up in religious people. One time I had Jehovah's Witness come to the house. I used to live in Auckland for some time, and they said, "Would you listen about our philosophy?" I said, "Yes, as long as you're prepared to listen to my philosophy." And yeah, everyone agreed. And I said, "Look, just tell me the essence of your philosophy." So they said, God is going to come and come to the earth and kill all the people that are not part of their group, which they quoted some I can't remember, 80,000 or 100,000 or something, I can't remember. And then 144,000 or something. He said he's going to kill everyone else except for their religion. He's going to kill everyone else. And they call that Armageddon. And then God's going to turn the earth into paradise, and they're going to live forever on the earth with their families. And they said that's their philosophy. And I was so shocked. I said, but if you love God, wouldn't you want to live with God? Why would you want to live on earth with your family if you love God? Wouldn't you want to
Mm.
go and live with God in the kingdom of God in heaven? They said, no. No, what? We don't want to live in heaven with God. We want to live here with our family. And I couldn't believe it. I just thought these guys are so they externally they look like they're religious people that love God, but actually they have no love for God. They have no interest whatsoever in God. All they want to use God for is to kill their enemies, to kill everyone else off that's not in their religion. Their God is, Prabhupada called it, an order supplier. That you give the order and God has to supply. So we call that make God your order supplier. It's supposed to be the other way round, that God gives the order and we supply his order. But we've turned it around. God, you do this for me, you do that for me. But this is not real religion like that. So forget about people that are atheists, but even so-called religious people, maximum number, don't really have much interest in having a relationship with God. At the most, they want to use God to get some enjoyment, more enjoyment in the material world like that. So God's in a very difficult position because he loves everyone without any doubt, because we're all his children. But we're so rebels. We're so rebels. And we've turned away from him, ignore him, and not only turned away, in many cases, people hate God. In many cases, people, then how are you gonna reciprocate with someone that hates you? Like if someone hates you, what can you reciprocate with them? Someone like I got now, someone down the road that hates me because I hit his drunk friend with his bamboo stick months ago, and he hates me. But what can I do? I can't. I mean, I'd like to give him some food, prasadam, and everything, but I can't because he doesn't like me at all. So now what am I going to do? I'm just going to avoid him. That's it. So that's what Krishna does too. Just avoid. Because if Krishna comes close, they're just going to get more angry. They're going to get more upset. Like if I go close to my neighbor, he's going to get angry. He's going to get upset. What's the best thing I do? I just stay away from him. It's the best thing I can do for him is stay away from him. Because if I go to him, he's going to get angry. So Krishna also he just keeps away, keeps back. If you don't have the right attitude, if you don't like him, if you hate him, if you're envious of him or whatever like that. And it's no question that he loves someone, he doesn't love someone, he loves everyone. But he can only reciprocate, depending on our attitude. If you're favorable to him, he's favorable to you. If you're not favorable to him, it's not that he doesn't like you, but he just keeps out of the picture. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I think reciprocate is right. But I'm just wondering, I mean, people who are ignorant, totally ignorant, they don't even know it. I don't know. I mean, how does God help them? I mean,
Yeah, but
then
we know how he helps because the scripture is available for everyone. And we've got Krishna came to this earth to give that knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, to everyone. And then Krishna's devotees, they distribute it everywhere. I mean, like in ISKCON, there's Hare Krishnas going out in pretty much every place on the planet, trying to give Krishna's words to everyone. Just like Christians give the Bible to everyone, same principle. God is helping them through the Bible. Jesus has presented that message for everyone. And that's open. But if you don't want to read the Bible, you don't want to read the Bhagavad Gita, then what to do? So prasadam, we get offer prasadam to everyone. But I know people that don't want to eat prasadam. They don't want to eat it. Well, what can I do? You don't want to chant Hare Krishna. You don't want to read Bhagavad Gita. You don't want to take prasadam. Then what more can God do? I can't shove it down their throat like that. So, definitely the mercy, like I said, the sunshine is for everyone. But if you hide in a cave, then what to do? Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is there. I mean, you basically, but I think yes, and his system, as we're talking about, is also there. I mean, if you can't understand directly the scriptures, or you don't,
Yeah.
he's got a system where,
Yeah.
so
even if you're in that category that you don't want to, read the scripture and, and meet the devotees or whatever, then he's got another system indirectly. He'll break down your false ego. He'll break down your pride. And eventually you'll come to that point where you will take the mercy. But that's, indirectly. So he's helping you that way. So, everyone, he's working, in the perfect way. according to our mentality. So he deals differently according to the mentality of the, individual like that. But and all the lower species of life, they're slowly evolving up to the human species. We read that right in the beginning of Rupa Goswami's teaching, 8,400,000 species. And, if you're very fortunate, you get the mercy of Krishna and, guru like that, Brahmanda Brahmate Konya Bhagavan Jiva. So slowly, all those lower species are coming up to human life. And when they get the human life, then they'll get an opportunity to come to Krishna consciousness. So there is a gradual process where everyone can be given the chance to become Krishna conscious. And even in the human species, okay, if you become envious or whatever, okay, then you'll get smashed through the, adhyatmic klesha, adhidaivic klesha, adhibautic klesha, so many things, the family dies or whatever like that, and and then you break down your ego and your pride and everything, and then you say, God save me, God help me, and everything, and then you can come that way. So, yeah, one way or another, then everyone can be directed towards God.
The other thing I read about in the Bhagavatam was that the word I think it was in purport or something. It says, um, creating this universe is pastime of God. Is that pastime of God? I mean, that just, yeah, I was not able to understand that. I mean, and I looked at the word pastime means it's like something you do as a hobby or something. That's very interesting. So I was just so I was just wondering. I mean, hobby, a pastime to create this world. I mean, that doesn't sound right, does it? I mean,
Well,
it's
yeah, you'd have to give me the context around it for me to
I'll
answer that question.
the purport there. Yeah, there.
Yeah.
It just says. So I was like, I don't know. I mean, why? It's a pastime, but from looking at that, there's a definite purpose behind it. The why this universe is, or the cosmos, or whatever it is, the whole number of universes. There's a purpose behind that, and
Yeah.
the purport says, I think I like saying that, but I was like,
But yeah, I
what?
mean, all of the Lord's pastimes have a purpose too. None of them are just
Yeah.
done for no reason. So even
Why we call it pastime? I mean, in terms of, because pastime word is kind of, it's like it's not very, um, or it's the thing he does for entertainment,
yeah,
a
well,
hobby.
pastime means an activity, right? So I mean that is one of the activities of the Lord. And he has activities in the spiritual world, and he has activities in creating the material world, maintaining the material world, destroying the material world, and then recreating it. So these are all his different activities. And you might take it pastime means it's like he's having a joke or whatever, but it's not like that. It's not like he's doing it like just to have fun, you know. And that point's made a lot, especially in the 10th canto, that some people make the mistake to think that when Krishna comes to the material world, he comes and has his pastimes here. He's coming here to enjoy sense gratification. He's coming here to enjoy himself. Like, how he dances with the Rasalita with all the gopis and that. People think he's coming here to enjoy. But the point made by the acharyas is he has far more enjoyable things in the spiritual world. There's far more Lakshmis and goddess of fortune there, everything material, I mean, enjoyable things in the spiritual world. Why would he come to the material world to enjoy here? He has so much more there. So he's not coming here just to enjoy sense gratification. He's coming here to try to attract us back to the spiritual world. So yeah, I wouldn't take that meaning of pastime to be like he's just like joking around, having a bit of fun. So he's creating the material just to do that. But it is a pastime in terms of it's an activity. He has activities and, like I said, creating, maintaining, destroying the material world, and then activities in the spiritual world with the pure devotees there. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see the context there.
Yeah, it's kind of 7 somewhere in the first chapter. Anyway, I'll go with that anyway. But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's. I mean, there's a purpose. I mean, there's a definite purpose. You can see that.
Yeah.
It's not without any purpose or somebody just playing game or something. It's not like that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I think. What about
Yeah, that was an interesting discussion about that subject. Yeah.
But it was that's good. Yeah, just some questions come up when I was reading, and then
That's great. That's
just
good. No, I can tell you've been reading a lot, so that's good. That's very nice.
I'm reading, but how much I understand, I don't know. Yeah, but I'm
that's
reading.
okay. Yeah,
Understand.
but Krishna will be pleased. That's the main thing. Krishna's pleased that we're reading about him, so that's automatically going to benefit us.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, no, talking to you is good. That's just clear.
Yes.
I think that's enough. I think for today. Thank you very much. Is it?
Yeah, for sure. You're most welcome. It was very nice, very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a great week.
You
You take
Bye.
care.